And it's time for the business segment here on Joy News Prime with me, Beverly Broohm. Now to our first story, a financial analyst has described as a rash decision the government's announcement of suspension of all debt service payments. The government announced suspension of all debt service payments under certain categories of external debts pending an orderly restructuring of the affected obligations. The suspension will include the payment of Eurobonds, commercial term loans, and on most bilateral debt. But speaking earlier on the marketplace, financial analyst Dr. Richmond Etuahene said the government should have waited for the implementation of the domestic debt exchange program after extending the deadline for institutional bondholders to sign up to the facility to December 30.
The institutions that have credit lines, some institutions have credit lines, in terms of credit lines. Immediately you say it, that they will be cut off. They will be cut off, and if they are cut off, it would affect the external trade. So it's the implication is quite big. But I would have thought that we would have tried to complete the debt exchange, the domestic debt exchange, and before we go and do the pre-default, so that we could negotiate with them very well for the haircut or whatever they were talking about. You're going to have a tap. There's no two ways about that. And the literature support that you're not going to have it because you're telling them that I cannot, I don't have. Therefore, wait and let me tell you what you can do. If you're hard pressed for time, you set your time frame, and you should make provision for, especially the domestic. You see, the domestic debt restructuring would have helped in the external restructuring. But now that you're having a problem to do it, people are now beginning to say, oh, there is no confidence. I would have thought that we have a lot of time. We had time from July up to today. The engagement, as I've always been saying, there needs to be a good stakeholders engagement to tell people the reason why we are doing it and the benefit for us. Not only the benefit for physical space, what we do to industry, what we do to the private sector. If all these things we knew from July, we could have programmed ourselves very well that we shouldn't have been hard pressed by time. Now we haven't done that. We are getting hard pressed every day, every day. So we are taking some measures that, for me, in your negotiation, is not going to be easy.
Now, away from that, Chief Executive for African Energy Consortium, Kwame Jantua, has taken a swipe at the government for not implementing measures to forestall dollarization of the economy. According to him, this is having a toll on the energy sector. Speaking to Joy Business at a workshop on quarterly tariff adjustment and net metering guidelines, he said the energy transition agenda may grind to a halt if the menace is not addressed.
It's a chicken and egg situation, and as you see, where our electricity is concerned, the dollar plays a huge role in it. And the dollar plays a huge role in it primarily because of the IPPs that we have. Can we extricate that? I don't see how we're going to extricate ourselves off the dollar, not unless we have a policy where we de-dollarize our economy. If we are able to de-dollarize our economy, like some other countries have done, South Africa for that matter, then maybe it will be possible. But the situation we find ourselves in has shown us that we have to de-dollarize. We have to bring inflation down at all points. We have to bring the cost of importation down. These factors contribute to the dollarization of our economy. If we don't de-dollarize our economy, it becomes difficult because it feeds into our electricity generation. So it is something that we need to sit down collectively, not only as a government, but collectively, bring everybody on the table and see how do we start that process of de-dollarization. And where we find ourselves today, is it a huge advantage for us to say, we need to do it. Because look, you go to some countries, you try to pay your hotel bill with dollar, they'll tell you it doesn't happen, go and change it. But it's also got to do with mindset. Because even in Parliament, you hear them talk about, and it costs this X dollars, it costs this Y dollars. It doesn't help us. We need to have a conscious effort, and we need to be serious about de-dollarization.
Now, the Ghana Enterprises Agency has cautioned beneficiaries of its COVID-19 funding programs to make use of the funds to attract the necessary growth in the economy. According to the agency, this is the surest way to ensure more funds to be channeled into the revival of the medium, small and large enterprises in the midst of the harsh economic conditions. There's more in the following report.
Speaking at an event to sign another agreement to expand the COVID-19 response grant scheme to micro businesses, Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Kosi Yankee Aye, advised the beneficiaries to use the funds for its intended purpose. More than 400 people have so far benefited from the first phase of the program, which has been supported by the World Bank and other partners. The CEO also pledged for more support next year for the sector.
Our advice to them is really to utilize the funds, because people assume that they'll never come back for support, but they always come back. Right? It's something that we've seen. Another cutbacks, those who got the loans, who had come back for the grants, we actually put a hold on giving them funding because they hadn't paid some of their loans. And so you'd see that people actually go and pay it off because they know what they're doing is wrong. There are also those that will say that, oh, me use I didn't help. There are some who genuinely have challenges with their businesses, so that's fine. But there are those who also might misuse the funds, which we try to stop. And so we advise them, use it, because this project doesn't end here. Next year, like I mentioned, in the second week of January, we're going to roll out a major program, and that intervention would also expand and grow businesses. And if we're going to do that and you haven't utilized your funds properly, then you're not going to really benefit and support to grow your business. So if you're serious about growing your business, this is a time to take advantage of the various interventions.
She, however, noted that despite challenges in retrieving some loans from the sector, the agency is working to retrieve the monies.
Because some businesses will not do well, some will also do well, and all that comes with it. But we are collecting as much as possible. It's important to know that you gave funding at a time when businesses were struggling. And so you have to put that thought behind you or in front of you in making certain decisions. And we're moving ahead and we're doing collections.
About 100 MSMEs are benefiting from the second phase grant scheme.
And that's all for Business Tonight. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broohm, and I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.